A quick note before we get into the episode. Oversharing is a podcast for entertainment purposes only. It is not a medical podcast and does not constitute medical or psychological advice. Always seek the advice of your physician or mental health professional. Hello and welcome back to Oversharing. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I am Dr. Naomi Bernstein.
How are you? It is nearing the end of the longest month of the year.
Yes.
How are you doing?
It is long. It is cold. It is dark.
I wanted to ask you, is seasonal affective disorder, is that like a real thing, or is that just something people use to complain about the winter? Is that a real disorder?
I mean, what is any disorder, right? It's a cluster of symptoms that you can kind of connect the dots to. I don't know that it means, for some people, I do think they benefit from like a light
therapy thing.
Light therapy, like an artificial light, you benefit from that type of thing. But I think for a lot, and so it is a real thing, but I think for a lot of people, it really is this idea that I think a big part of it is just the days being short.
Right. It gets dark so early.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that energizing thing when you're active, like you have more time in that, I'm winding down part of my day. Like once it starts getting dark out, you're kind of like, okay, I'm like winding down my day.
Right.
But then you're like winding down your day starting at 4:30. And then if you're not going to bed till 11:30, you're in this like slower, more depressive kind of mode for a larger chunk of your day. Whereas in the summertime, you're still like in that active. And I think a lot of it has to do with just like idle mind is a devil's playground sometimes.
Right. There's less going on.
Yeah, less going on. You're not walking around and, you could easily go to like a street fair at like 7:00.
Right.
On a Saturday evening. And it feels like that's just the beginning.
Right. And especially almost like more so on the weekends sometimes, because you're on the weekends, you're like, oh my God, it's dark out. I haven't even done anything.
Right.
Or the day's like over and I haven't been awake that long.
Yeah. And then you have these self-critical thoughts of like, I've wasted my day, or, I think there's a lot that goes into it around all of that. I think that self-critical stuff of like, what have I done today? Or even this feeling of, like that mundane, like I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I eat, I go to sleep, I wake up, like this kind of groundhog.
And when
day.
I leave my house, it's cold and uncomfortable and unpleasant, right?
Yeah, waking up in the dark, driving home in the dark. It just makes it feel a lot more like I'm not finding the moments of joy because so yeah, I think it's a real thing. Yeah, for sure.
I wonder if it would affect people with like less melanin more, or less rather.
Right.
I would imagine the darker your skin, the more evolutionarily like you were in sunnier,
right. You
like warmer climates. Right. And so I would imagine like if you're like a paler, blue-eyed blonde person, maybe you're kind of like built for that more,
right?
Maybe,
perhaps.
I wonder.
I think on the both ends, like on the poles of the earth, right, where it kind of evens out because it's like you have the summer and then you have the winter, and on the equator, it's kind of like that, not as drastic of a difference. Interesting. I do wonder if there is a big difference between how much light you're receiving or if it's just more like how much heat you're receiving.
Right. Because you would think like we would have evolutionarily like gotten used to this fact.
It probably also has to do with the fact that, speaking of evolutionarily, like back in the day, it was kind of like when it was dark, that was it. You weren't like still working in the farm and like tilling the fields. You were
right.
I think now,
there was no light. Right.
Exactly. Now we're still doing the same thing that we're doing in the summer, in the winter. We're still working the same hours. We still have the same routine, but it's freezing and we're bundling up and the days are shorter and our workload is the same. Like I think sometimes in the winter, we were kind of evolved to just like, now you just like sleep a lot, right? Almost
Right.
like you sleep more,
Hibernate.
there's less to do. You kind of just snuggle up and eat your reserves and wait for the spring to come back so you can start to grow more food. And, you know, the snow has thawed and we can find a rabbit to eat or whatever. So yeah, I think there might be something to that as well. You know, like we're not able to just kind of like guilt free. Like you said, what have I done all day? I've just slept all day. And maybe it's like we're criticizing ourselves for that when maybe we're kind of meant in the winter to just sleep and hibernate and not be super active. And
I mean, what do bears do?
Yeah.
They're not beating themselves up.
They do not feel badly at all. They're excited. They just kind of hunker down and stay warm and snuggle up. But we have the same expectations, but totally different environment.
Too smart for our own good. It's something to think about.
I do think that self-critical mind of like, what should I be doing and what should be happening? And sometimes
feeling bad about the motivation.
Yes.
Or like, I don't want to go on this date or to meet a friend. It's just so cold. I'd rather just stay here.
What does that mean about me and my life? Am I depressed and my friendships? And everybody just take a breath. You're okay. Whatever you're doing is enough. You're enough. Just as you are.
It's sort of a luxury, but if you can get out of a cold weathered place, I think in like January or February, that is the move. Just to feel, for me, sometimes I just need like the sun on my skin. I feel like it changes my whole mentality.
Yeah. Well, even like a sunny, cold day.
No, those are bullshit. Sorry.
I personally feel like a sunny, cold day feels different than a cloudy, cold day. I just think you get a little bit of that sun on your skin. And I will encourage people also, right? I know we're saying like hibernate, it's fine, whatever. And yes, it is. But I will encourage people to bundle up. We have the means, most of us, to get like really, really warm, put on your warmest jacket and your hat and your gloves and just go be outside. And if you're dressed appropriately, I think sometimes we're like in a little bit of a denial and just like go outside, or you don't want to get to the restaurant and be embarrassingly taking off this like puffer coat that takes up half the table and like 17 layers in your scarf and your hat. It's like a little bit annoying, but I do find that if you're dressed warm and you go outside in the winter, you might kind of like it and enjoy just that little area right here, getting some nice, fresh, cool air. And not feeling like you have to hide away from the whole thing.
The dog likes it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Ronnie is like, he wants to like go outside and he'll just like sit out there. I think he thinks it's like overheating in here.
Yeah, probably. He's like,
well, he's got, you know, his winter coat, like literally winter coat growing in. So he'll like sometimes just sit out there and just enjoy the.
Yeah. I think especially you have a beautiful backyard. I'm going to challenge you to just bundle up. You don't have to be freezing. Dress warm. And when you take him out, just sit out there and watch him frolic in the cold air, all nice and toasty in your nice warmest coat with your warmest sweater and some gloves, and see if you can relax into it. Watch that, you know, the steam from your breath, and see if you can find a mindful moment in there.
And I read a book on longevity, which basically said like being a little uncomfortable, like being a little cold or being a little hot helps you live longer because it makes your cells like uncomfortable.
Totally buy it. I really, it's even not so whatever, don't starve yourself, but eating less and like being able to tolerate hunger and the discomfort of hunger is actually good for you. I think we're so used to being so comfortable all the time that we've evolved to not tolerate the smallest of discomforts.
And discomfort actually, again, like changes your genes to like make them stronger. Somehow.
Yeah. So everyone out there, go do something uncomfortable today. Go outside when it's cold, you know, eat something that's not your favorite thing to eat. Push yourself a little bit harder in your workout. Do a puzzle that you're frustrated with that's annoying. Try to play something on the piano that you don't know how to play. Make yourself uncomfortable. It's good for you.
Good luck with that. Let's get into our listener emails. Before we get into it, we have a couple of voicemails this episode. If you want to leave a voicemail, you can give us a call at 646-363-6294. You can subscribe to this podcast. You get all the episodes a day early, so you'll get them on Mondays instead of Tuesdays, and all the episodes ad-free. If you're a subscriber, plus 2 bonus episodes a month. We have a lot of fun with those. So it's our little subscriber community. Or you can join one of Dr. Naomi's therapy groups.
Yeah, NaomiBernstein.com. Come find us. If you're having the winter blues, we will challenge you. We will support you. We are always there to listen. And I always tell my group members, show up as you are. It's one of my favorite things about the group. Like, show up when you're cranky, show up when you're sick, show up when you don't feel like it, show up when you feel like being quiet, show up when you feel like sharing. It's just a place where there's always going to be people to support you no matter what kind of mood you're in. Not like sometimes at dinner with friends, you feel like you have to kind of be away and
put on a show.
Yeah. Be social, be interested in other people. And sometimes you are, and that's great. But if you're not, that's also okay. And you don't have to be alone. So,
right. Well, that's kind of the beauty of group therapy also, is like sometimes I have a regular therapy appointment and I'm like, I don't feel like talking about any stuff. And I feel like in a group session, like if you're not having one of those weeks, you could just kind of like listen and then see if something makes you feel a certain way and then add on kind of when you want. There's less pressure, like you said, to lead the conversation or to like bring your own baggage to unpack. You can kind of like just absorb and
totally. And it feels nice to help other people. Like that is something, it's like an antidepressant. You know, if let's say you've told the same story to 4 friends and then you have your therapy appointment and you're like, I don't even really feel like doing this again right now. You can go and actually listen to someone else. And spoiler alert, sometimes there are people who have things that are harder than you, and it does help you perhaps put some of what you're going through into perspective. So that's helpful as well.
All right, let's get into our episode. I'll read our overshare. Hi, Jordana and Dr. Naomi. Thank you for all you do. I have an issue that I could use your advice to tackle. Recently, my fiancé and I took a vacation with my parents. Nobody really knows how this plan came to be. I think my fiancé invited them, but he thinks they invited themselves. Anyway, my mom is a lot sometimes, and she's very talkative and usually has no filter. We spent most of our vacation with them, and by the final night of the 3-day trip, my fiancé started acting like he does when he's angry, and I couldn't figure out why. I finally got him to tell me that he was annoyed about my mom, and he claimed that every word out of her mouth is a complaint and that she kept grilling him with questions when he clearly didn't want to talk. When he gets angry, he turns silent and doesn't engage in conversation, so I think she was trying to simply make conversation. She's an acquired taste, but she's my mom, and he and I have been together for 8 years, so he's fully familiar with the way she is. He asked me to tell her to stop asking him questions, but she's sensitive, and I feel like she would take it wrong. Earlier in the trip, she even asked if he didn't like her because of his behavior towards her, but I assured her that he loves her just fine. Then this happened, and it seems more serious than just being annoyed. He's been stressed at work and has a shorter fuse than usual, and he and I had an argument earlier that day. But this vacation was supposed to be relaxing for everyone. The whole exchange made me so anxious whenever they were in the same room for the rest of the time we were there, and now I'm afraid that I will not be able to enjoy time with both of them without wondering what will upset him or that he secretly doesn't like her at all. We're getting married in February, so there will be a lot more family time coming up soon. What should I do? Thank you. Stuck between a mom and a hard place.
Memories.
Is this relatable to you? What?
You know, I mean, they've been together 8 years, so I'm surprised this is just first coming up now, but maybe it was just the extensive
a family
time.
Vacation. Honestly, I do think it's hard to be with anyone's family for 3 days, no matter how much you like them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just to be around anyone that's not like your immediate crew.
Yeah. And if he's already like stressed out at work and has his own independent stressors. They had an argument that morning or whatever. It sounds like this is kind of a recipe for, I think it's a recipe for a conversation. So what I think is there comes a time in a lot of relationships where you have to do the thing where you're like, I am self-aware about my family and I give you permission to share your negative thoughts and feelings and I will validate them. Because I think what happens a lot is it's like, I kind of think your mom is so annoying. I can't stand it, but they can't say that. And because they're afraid of offending you, or so it's like they're going through it alone, then they feel kind of, I think the validation here is going to make this much better because you're not going to be going on family vacations every day. You don't have to do them ever again if he doesn't want to, or this feels stressful. But realizing, okay, this is a small amount of your actual life that you're going to have to tolerate my mom being annoying. I think what makes it more annoying is if it feels like you're defensive when he's bringing it up, or you're not validating like, oh yeah, she does that to me. She asks all these questions. It's so annoying. Like, I don't understand why she can't pick up that I'm not in the mood to talk. This is how I handle it. Maybe you could try that. Or yes, I can help you navigate I think if you could be a partner with him in it instead of, which is normal, maybe getting a little offended or fearful of like, what does this mean about our future that he doesn't like her? That I think it's helpful to just kind of be like, okay, let's strategize. What can we do? Yes, you're right. She's annoying. How can I help you? What can we do about it?
I agree. I think that's great advice. I feel like a lot of the times when you're in your own family, you have a little bit of a warped sense of what's normal because it's how you've always done things. And again, it doesn't sound like her mom is like being a lunatic or anything, but sometimes you don't pick up something that seems normal to you. Right. Someone else comes in and they're like, oh, that's not really the way that I would do this, or that's not really like a way that I like to relax.
Right.
And this seems pretty stressful. So I think I agree with you. I think the worst thing is when you feel like you're going crazy because no one else is picking up on like the oddities of someone else's family, even if they're great and nice or whatever it is. Like just hearing your partner say and validate that, I think is really helpful. And I also think like it's okay for her as the daughter, as the person that's like, the in-between, to get in there and help him out a little bit.
Yes.
Like I get what she's like, she doesn't want to rock the boat. Her mom is sensitive, but I think like she knows her mom better than I'm sure he does and many other people do. Maybe to say like, Mom, like Dave, let's call him Dave. Dave like is like so stressed at work and he could really use like an afternoon to just like zone out.
Right.
And that's kind of what he was, hoping for this vacation. Why don't we all
just have some alone quiet time.
Have some quiet time. Right.
Right. Yeah, she doesn't have to say he finds you annoying, please stop. Doesn't have to be to that extreme, but it's almost like if you were out at a bar and like his this girl that used to like him in high school keeps following him around, you'd kind of be like, all right, I'm going to help you out. I'm just going to be like, hey, like, let's go over here, like move to, change the body language, change location, like help him escape a little bit.
And that is kind of a thing when you're like, they're getting married. He's going to be your new like primary family. And I mean, it sounds like she kind of understands where he's coming from, but if she could fully wrap her head around it, again, I guess I'm sure he has some other stuff going on, but I do think it's like nice to be protective of your partner when you know that they're like not having the best time or not having the best week or something, to like kind of step in where it's needed, where you can help, especially because he's being quiet so he doesn't say anything rude.
Right. Yes. And I will tell you, 19 years later, you're still going to be doing that. I still have to like come in and kind of like help Jeff out every now and then when I could tell that someone's like being annoying or too much or whatever it is. You have to, it's just.
And everyone has that to an extent. Right. Even if it's like, all right, let's go now. Like, if it's like a long family function, like Like you can tell if you know because she knows both those people better than most people. So it's like, when your partner's like ready to go.
Right.
Like leave. Like
I think the hardest part, and that's the reason why I say like I remember this, is in the beginning, before you reach that point where you're like, okay, we've both established these quirky things that our own families do that annoy each other, and we can talk about it very freely. And it's not so tense anymore. Like I remember in the beginning, and I think for a lot of people in the beginning, it's really uncomfortable. Like you start off in this like exciting, we love each other's families. And like, there's this fantasy thing. And some people have that. I'm not saying nobody has that, but I think part of like the honeymoon falling in love phase is like, oh, their family's great. My family's great. Like we all like love each other. And then after a while, you're like, okay, starting to see these things, and it takes all the tension out of it when you can just address it without getting defensive. Like what makes it hard is when it feels like your partner can't say anything negative about your family, or or it has to be in a fight, or it causes a fight, or you get defensive. Like, it's okay. Your family's imperfect. His family's imperfect. They might not be the best match all the time. It sounds like outside of days in a row together, this wasn't ever an issue.
I think it's nice. I think that's sort of like a beautiful thing about a long-term relationship is when you're able to anticipate, a problem that might come up and sort of preemptively like be a little protective or ahead of it. Like even with our family stuff, I'll be like, oh, our mom's hosting something. Make sure you eat before.
Right.
Because like there probably won't be any food. So, and do you know what I mean? So then he's not showing up like hungry and irritated that like we can't change everyone and everything, but we can, we can adjust and we can protect each other to the extent that we can make things as comfortable as we can because we know each other better than anyone.
Totally. So hook them up, help them out. It doesn't have to be a big offensive conversation with your mom. It can be very simple as like, hey, we're going to go upstairs and take a nap, or, Mom, I'm just going to listen to my music. Can we have some quiet time for a little bit? Or, just something subtle that just is going to hook him up and help him out.
Yeah. And if you're not on that level with your mom where you could say that, I don't think you should be going on these family vacations.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, I think to be traveling with someone for 3 days, you need to be able to
say, I want some quiet time. I want some alone time. Yeah.
Without worrying that they'll be offended. Because if they are, again, that's like not your fault. That's not like a horrible thing, but it's probably not someone you should be taking a trip with.
Totally. Yep.